Anything else you want to say to your fans, man?
Man, shout out to Dante's Boxing Nation. You know, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Earl Spence Jr.
What about Kell Brook?
Kell Brook?
He said 157 he'll fight you.
I think he's too small.
Too small?
Too small, yeah. You know, my focus on 160 in middle division right now. Kell Brook or everybody just trash talk, you know.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Well, it looks like every day someone has something to say about this Golovkin versus Kell Brook fight, from Edeslani Lara suggesting that he may target Roman Gonzalez next, obviously in a sarcastic way, to now Bob Arum criticizing Gennady Golovkin for facing Kell Brook next. Before I give you my thoughts, let me go ahead and quote what Bob Arum had to say about this fight. Quote, "I don't believe that. That's crazy. I mean, Golovkin is fighting a welterweight? I'm a little shocked. Is that even a fight? GG versus Chris Eubank Jr. makes more sense. At least Eubank is a middleweight. It's not a bad fight, but Gennady Golovkin against a welterweight? Give me a break." This is what Bob Arum had to say to ringtv.com. Now, the first thing I want to say, and I want to make this very clear, is what you guys hear me reading, these are actually reports. These are things that other people are saying about the Golovkin versus Brook fight. These comments that are made by people like Bob Arum and Edeslani Lara, these comments are reposted and talked about on many different boxing websites. The reason why I wanted to clear this up is because some of these fans take things so personal. They're so emotionally attached to Gennady Golovkin that they start getting upset with the people that's even reporting the news. But what I notice is, for example, with me doing this video and I'm telling you guys what Bob Arum said, it's so funny how the coincidental list works, because the majority of fans, they're not going to criticize Bob Arum at all. They're going to criticize the messenger, the person that actually reported what Bob Arum says. That is what you call decaf shit, dumb casual ass fans type of shit right there. Let me break this down right now and give you guys the proper distinction. You see, unlike a decaf, a person that bases everything on emotion, hate, pride, nationality, race, etc., etc., unlike a person like that, I don't have any personal beef. I don't have any problems with any of these fighters. Okay? Even if Canelo is fighting Amir Khan, I don't personally dislike Canelo Alvarez. I have no type of hate or disdain for any of these fighters, regardless if they contradict themselves. For example, I respect Team Golovkin the same way I respect Team Ward and Team Mayweather, etc., etc. And I personally know Abel Sanchez. You guys have heard me talk to him on the phone. And I still ask him the tough questions, and he still expects me to ask him the tough questions. If you guys ever watched my interview I did with Tom Loeffler, he loves my channel. I still ask him the tough questions, and he doesn't take it personal. I don't take what Gennady Golovkin does personal. Hell, I have an interview with Loeffler where we talked for damn near 45 minutes. And the majority of everything you guys hear me talking about on my videos, I asked him in that interview. And he didn't take it personal. And one more time, I don't take anything he says personal. Just because we talk boxing, none of this shit is personal. When I talk to Abel Sanchez, I'm cool with Abel Sanchez. But I still ask Abel Sanchez, why is it okay for you guys to move up to 170 or 168 to fight Carl Froch and then come down to fight Floyd Mayweather, but you wouldn't do that when it comes to fighting Andre Ward and coming down to fight Floyd Mayweather. That is a contradiction, and I asked that question to Abel Sanchez, and he doesn't take it personal. Why? Because he knows that that is our job. Our job is to ask questions. And the majority of times when you put yourself in a tough situation, we're going to be asking tough questions. Okay? So the point that I'm making is, I wanted to be clear to the decafs, I am nothing like you. When I interview someone, I don't have any personal hate for that person while I'm interviewing him. I have no problem with these guys, but I am still going to ask the tough questions in a professional manner. And this is the reason why Abel Sanchez told me a couple interviews ago that we're the ones that put the pressure on them when it comes to fighting the opponents that we want them to fight. And this was the reason why I asked Abel Sanchez, well, if you were going to pick Kell Brook, how come you guys didn't pick Edeslani Lara? He told me that Lara probably would have asked for too much money. I said, well, how come you didn't reach out and ask him anyway? He said it was probably too late to negotiate for another couple of months. They didn't have enough time. So basically the point that I am making is, none of this shit is personal. This is our job. Report the news, or at least my job. Report the news, interview fighters, cover the fights. That's what I do. And saying that's crazy, I don't believe that, is this a real fight? That's what Bob Arum had to say. You know, I find it kind of ironic when you look at the contrast. Bob Arum, who doesn't promote Keith Thurman or Shawn Porter, he really commended Keith Thurman and Shawn Porter for facing each other. He said that was a great fight, and he said, I hope they do good numbers. And Thurman versus Porter turned out to be the most watched fight this year. Now you look at the Golovkin versus Kell Brook fight, and you hear Bob Arum say something completely different. When you look at the type of reception that Golovkin is getting for taking this fight, it puts Golovkin in a tough position. And even Abel Sanchez, he admitted that when I was talking to him. He said, you know, we're going to get criticized regardless. Regardless if he wins or whatever, we're going to get criticized. So even Abel Sanchez acknowledges that Golovkin is in a lose-lose situation right now. I mean, even if he went in there and he knocked out Kell Brook in the first round, they're going to say it was against a welterweight. But if Kell Brook goes in there and he does either two things, he either gets a moral victory, and when I say a moral victory, I mean where he just goes in there and he looks good. He may end up losing, but he goes in there and he makes Golovkin look bad. If he makes Golovkin struggle, that's going to make Golovkin's stock go down, right? If Kell Brook pulls off the upset, then of course Golovkin's stock goes way down. And then Kell Brook, he becomes the miracle man. So this fight puts Golovkin in a tough situation. But Golovkin, he can come back from it. What Golovkin should do after this fight, once again, if he's not going to fight Edeslani Lara, which I've always said, if Golovkin can't get Danny Jacobs, BJ Saunders in the ring next, he should either fight Edeslani Lara or he should move up to 168 and fight one of the top guys up there. Because this is normally what champions do. Okay? Once again, you guys have to understand something. When it comes to Floyd Mayweather, these decafs, they say Floyd Mayweather is pillow-fisted, he has no power. So if a guy who's quote-unquote pillow-fisted has no power is fighting guys with power and 15 to 20 pounds bigger than them, if Floyd can do that, then surely Gennady Golovkin can do it. And I believe Golovkin will do it. I believe he's going to have to do it after this Kell Brook fight. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. As much of an underdog as Kell Brook is, Gennady Golovkin fighting an undefeated welterweight. I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing for Golovkin, but this may still be the biggest step up in competition for Gennady Golovkin. It's just unfortunate for Golovkin and for Kell Brook that Kell Brook is not a middleweight, because if Kell Brook was a natural middleweight or a natural super middleweight and Golovkin had to move up one weight class to fight him, then this would be a very intriguing fight. But the fight still is intriguing though. It's just intriguing for different reasons. Because it's David versus Goliath now, instead of Goliath versus Goliath. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Kell Brook, he is a very strong puncher. He is a very skilled fighter. Kell Brook, no doubt about it, is the most skilled fighter that Golovkin has ever faced. I truly believe that. Reflexes, rhythm, coordination, etc. The only thing he doesn't have is middleweight power or middleweight strength. But it should be interesting. It should definitely be interesting. I mean, we seen what Amir Khan was able to do against Canelo Alvarez, but this will be much tougher for Kell Brook because Gennady Golovkin is no Canelo Alvarez. Golovkin is much better than Canelo Alvarez all around. So we'll see what happens, guys. We'll see what happens. Now, another fight I keep thinking about is Manny Pacquiao versus Oscar De La Hoya. You know what's so funny is when you think about that De La Hoya-Pacquiao fight, I remember like it was yesterday. People were slamming that fight the exact same way they're slamming this fight. They gave Manny Pacquiao no chance at all, right? They gave him no chance at all. They blamed Oscar De La Hoya for taking the fight. So many people in the media said the fight was a joke. Next thing you know, Manny Pacquiao stops Oscar De La Hoya, forces him to quit, and beats the hell out of him. Now, once again, I'm not saying this is the same thing because it's not. Oscar De La Hoya was a little bit older. You know, he wasn't an undefeated knockout artist like Gennady Golovkin. He wasn't the best fighter in his division. And Manny Pacquiao, you know, was known for being the pound for pound 1 or 2 best fighter in the world at the time. Now, but still, with that being said, I know I'm in the minority when I say this, but I don't really subscribe to people saying before the fight, Pacquiao had no chance at all. And then after the fight, when Pacquiao won the fight, they made excuses for why Oscar De La Hoya lost. I don't subscribe to that right there. I truly believe Pacquiao, he beat De La Hoya because he was better than De La Hoya. De La Hoya always had problems with fighters that were good boxers, had great foot movement and speed. The difference with Manny Pacquiao is he had tremendous power to go with the speed. And that's the reason why instead of Oscar just losing the 12-round decision, he decided to quit. Because Oscar De La Hoya, a lot of pressure was put on him. He was once again in a lose-lose situation. If he beats Pacquiao, he beats him because he was supposed to beat him. He's way bigger than Pacquiao. If he loses to Manny Pacquiao, it makes him look like a joke unless his fans save him and they make some really good excuses for why he lost. You know, the fact that he came down in weight and all that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure that was tough for him to come down in weight. But Oscar De La Hoya had already said that he was coming down to welterweight. He went up to 154 and he said he was going back down to welterweight. Shane Mosley did the same thing. He went up to 154, came back down to 147. The point I'm making is that was supposed to be a mismatch because of the size disparity. This is perceived as a mismatch as well. And even though I believe that Golovkin should be able to knock out a guy 2 divisions smaller than him, like Kell Brook, if Kell Brook were to surprise the whole world, shock the world, and pull off an upset, the only point I'm making is don't make excuses for why the massive favorite actually lost the fight. I thought Kell Brook, when it comes to Shawn Porter, being an aggressive, unorthodox type of aggressive fighter, like he's all over you, leaping and jumping at you, I thought Kell Brook did a pretty good job of avoiding a lot of Shawn Porter's big punches. Now, and I'm not trying to say Shawn Porter is as accurate as Gennady Golovkin, but I'm only saying that because it makes me wonder how good Kell Brook's defense will be against Gennady Golovkin. Not only that, but how will Golovkin react when Kell Brook lands one of those laser-like right hands? Keep in mind, Willie Monroe, who was a middleweight, by the way, he was a middleweight, but he was a middleweight that didn't really have too much power. And I truly believe, to a certain extent, Willie Monroe, he was able to get Golovkin's respect when he stood there and fought toe-to-toe with him. Kell Brook is not going to really fight toe-to-toe with Golovkin, and no one would advise him to do so. But at the same time, what's going to happen, Kell Brook gets a little bit of momentum. Like, let's say if he's still around in the 6th, 7th, 8th rounds and he's landing check hooks and laser-like lead right hands, how is Golovkin going to react? Because we haven't seen Golovkin deal with adversity, and who knows, he may not deal with it because Kell Brook once again is a middleweight, but maybe he will. Maybe he will. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see if Kell Brook can go past the first 6 rounds. If Kell Brook makes it beyond the first 6 rounds, it may actually become competitive. So let's see what happens. That's all I got for now. I'm on to the next one.
This is Bobby, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.